The shattered remnants of numerous Zorgan warships drifted lifelessly through the vast expanse of space. Once a formidable empire daring to challenge human dominion, the Zorgan Empire had been brutally punished for its fatal error. In the year 2257, Captain Marcus Novak of the Human Dominion Navy stood resolute on the bridge of the battleship HDs Indomitable. They patrolled the Dominion border, ever watchful for threats. Suddenly, alarms blared as sensors detected a massive Zorgan fleet amassing in Dominion space. An unmistakable act of aggression. Novak understood the stakes. If the Zorgan fleet attacked, millions of human lives would be lost. He had to act swiftly to neutralize the threat, for the survival of humanity itself hung in the balance. Meanwhile, deep within the heart of the Zorgan Empire, Emperor Kvok seethed with envy and resentment. The technological advantage held by the human Dominion gnawed at him. The Dominion's superior ships and weapons, coupled with their vast resources and thriving colonies, served as constant reminders of what Kvok believed rightfully belonged to the Zorgan Empire. The galaxy should be ours, Kvok growled, his clawed hands tightening on the armrests of his throne. The humans are nothing more than undeserving upstarts, unworthy of their power and prosperity. His advisors, a group of battle-hardened Zorgan warriors, nodded in agreement. They had long awaited the chance to strike at the heart of the human Dominion, to bring them to their knees and claim their rightful place as the true rulers of the galaxy. Grax rose from his throne, eyes blazing with determination. The time has come to show the humans the might of the Zorgan Empire. We will crush them, starting with their feeble border patrols. Ready the fleet. We attack at once. Hundreds of Zorgan warships, bristling with weapons and filled with eager warriors, assembled at the edge of Dominion space. The fleet presented an imposing sight, a sea of sleek black ships seemingly absorbing the very light around them. As the fleet crossed into Dominion territory, alarms blared aboard the HDs Indomitable. Captain Novak sprang into action, his training and experience taking over. He swiftly directed his crew to battle stations, preparing the ship's advanced weaponry. Though outnumbered, Novak knew the Indomitable was one of the Dominion Navy's most advanced ships, giving them a fighting chance. The first volley of Zorgan weapons fire slammed into the Indomitable's shields, causing the ship to shudder. Novak gritted his teeth, his hands flying over the control console as he directed the ship's return fire. The Indomitable's advanced lasers and missiles streaked through space, finding their marks among the Zorgan fleet. Explosions erupted across the void as Zorgan ships were struck, their hulls buckling and rupturing under the relentless onslaught. Yet, the Zorgans persisted, their numbers seemingly endless. For every ship the Indomitable destroyed, two more took its place. The human crew fought valiantly, their skills and determination matched only by the relentless fury of the Zorgan attack. Novak knew they couldn't hold out indefinitely. The Indomitable's shields were faltering, and its hull was beginning to give way under the sustained barrage. In a split-second decision, Novak ordered, "Helm, plot a course through the heart of the Zorgan fleet. We're going to hit them where it hurts." The helmsman, Lieutenant Zhang, met Novak's gaze with a mix of fear and determination. "Aye, Captain. Plotting course now." The Indomitable surged forward, engines roaring, plunging into the midst of the Zorgan fleet. Caught off guard, the Zorgan ships scrambled to reposition themselves, attempting to bring their weapons to bear on the human battleship. Novak and his crew fought with renewed vigor, their weapons tearing through the Zorgan ships at point-blank range. The Indomitable's shields flickered and strained, but they held, barely. As the battle raged on, the Indomitable left a trail of destruction in its wake, Zorgan ships exploding and breaking apart under the relentless human fire. Yet, the Zorgans persisted, their seemingly inexhaustible numbers posing a formidable challenge. Novak knew that, despite their advanced technology and tactical expertise, they couldn't hold out forever against the overwhelming force of the Zorgan fleet. Another barrage of Zorgan weapons fire slammed into the Indomitable's weakening shields. Sparks flew, consoles overloaded, and the acrid smell of burnt electronics filled the air. Novak gripped the armrests of his command chair tightly, watching as the ship's vital systems flickered and failed. "Captain, the engines are offline," Lieutenant Zhang shouted over the alarms. "We're dead in the water," Novak cursed under his breath. The Zorgans had targeted the Indomitable's weak spot, crippling its ability to maneuver. They were sitting ducks, vulnerable to the unrelenting onslaught of the enemy fleet. Suddenly, the ship's comm system crackled to life, and the harsh, guttural voice of Emperor Krax filled the bridge, dripping with contempt and triumph. "Captain Novak, your pathetic ship is at my mercy," Kerox sneered. "Surrender now, and I may spare your miserable lives. Refuse, and I will take great pleasure in personally overseeing your slow and painful demise." Novak's eyes narrowed, a fire burning within them. He would rather die than surrender to this monster, this tyrant who sought to enslave and destroy all that humanity had built. "Emperor Kerox, I have a message for you," Novak said, his voice steady and filled with defiance. "Go to hell with that." Novak turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Singh. "Activate the self-destruct sequence. We're not letting the Zorgans have the Indomitable." Singh nodded grimly, his fingers flying over the console as he initiated the ship's final protocol. A timer appeared on the main view screen, counting down from 5 minutes. Sensing the Indomitable's impending destruction, the Zorgan fleet surged forward, determined to board the ship and claim it as a prize before it was too late. The battered human battleship shook as enemy vessels latched onto its hull, their boarding parties cutting through the weakened defenses. Novak and his crew prepared for their final stand, arming themselves with whatever weapons they could find. They would fight to the last, ensuring that the Zorgans paid dearly for every inch of the Indomitable they tried to take. Just as the timer ticked down to its final seconds and the Zorgan boarders breached the bridge, a miracle happened. The void of space lit up with the sudden appearance of a massive human Dominion fleet, led by the imposing figure of Admiral Elena Petrovich aboard her flagship, the HDs Retribution. The Dominion reinforcements wasted no time, unleashing a devastating barrage of advanced weaponry upon the unsuspecting Zorgan fleet. Plasma beams, graviton torpedoes, and antimatter missiles tore through the enemy ships, vaporizing them in brilliant flashes of light, catching them completely off guard. The Zorgan fleet quickly fell into disarray, their once formidable ships now appearing fragile and vulnerable in the face of the human Dominion's superior technology. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Novak watched with satisfaction as the tide of battle turned. The Zorgan boarders, realizing their fleet was being decimated, retreated in panic, fleeing back to their own ships in a desperate attempt to escape the onslaught. Admiral Petrovich's face appeared on the Indomitable's view screen, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and determination. "Captain Novak, sorry we're late to the party. Let's finish this together." Novak grinned, a sense of renewed hope surging through him. "With pleasure, Admiral." As the combined might of the human Dominion bore down upon the Zorgan fleet, Emperor Kerox could only watch in horror as his grand plan crumbled before his eyes. His ships, once the pride of the Zorgan Empire, were reduced to shattered husks drifting lifelessly through the void. The Zorgan, their forces decimated and their dreams of conquest shattered, had no choice but to retreat, fleeing back to their own space like whipped dogs. In the heart of the Zorgan Empire, Emperor Kvok seethed with rage, his claws digging into the armrests of his throne. The humiliating defeat at the hands of the human Dominion burned in his mind, fueling his desire for vengeance. "Gather our remaining forces," Kerox growled, his eyes blazing with fierce determination. "Every ship, every warrior, every weapon at our disposal. We will crush the human Dominion and take what is rightfully ours." His advisors, wounded by the recent loss, eagerly set about mobilizing the Zorgan war machine. Shipyards worked around the clock, churning out new warships and repairing those that had survived the battle. Recruitment centers overflowed with eager volunteers, each Zoran driven by a thirst for blood and glory. Within weeks, the Zorgan Empire had amassed a formidable armada, far larger and more heavily armed than the fleet that had initially attacked the human Dominion. Emperor Kerox stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Z's Devastator, a sense of grim satisfaction washing over him as he surveyed the sea of ships stretched out before him. "Set course for human Dominion space," Kerox commanded, his voice echoing through the ship's intercom. "Let the galaxy tremble at the might of the Zorgan Empire." As the Zorgan armada surged forward, crossing the border into human Dominion territory, alarms blared across human space. Having learned from the initial Zorgan attack, the human Dominion had bolstered its defenses and prepared for the inevitable retaliation. Admiral Elena Petrovich, her face set in a determined scowl, stood on the bridge of the HDs Retribution, the flagship of the human Dominion fleet. She had witnessed firsthand the devastation the Zorgans were capable of, and she was determined to stop them at any cost. "All ships, battle stations." Petrovich's voice cut through the tense silence. "The Zorgans think they can take what is ours, but we will show them the true strength of the human Dominion." As the two mighty fleets converged, The void of space erupted in a cataclysmic display of weaponry and destruction. Plasma beams crisscrossed the darkness, while torpedoes and missiles streaked through the void, seeking out their targets with relentless precision. On the front lines of the battle, Captain Marcus Novak sat in the command chair of the HDs Retribution. His eyes narrowed in concentration as he directed the ship's formidable arsenal against the Zorgan invaders. The loss of the Indomitable still weighed heavily on his mind, but he channeled that pain into a fierce determination to protect his people and his home. "Target their flagship," Novak ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. "We take out Karox, and the rest of their fleet will crumble." The Retribution surged forward, its advanced shields absorbing the brunt of the Zorgan fire as it closed in on the Z's Devastator. The two massive ships, each a testament to their respective civilizations' technological prowess, clashed in a titanic struggle for supremacy. As the battle raged across multiple star systems, the human Dominion and Zorgan Empire traded blows in a conflict that would shape the future of the galaxy. Captain Novak received a secret transmission from Admiral Petrovich. "Captain Novak," Petrovich's voice crackled over the secure channel. "I have a mission of the utmost importance for you. We've identified a critical weakness in the Zorgan war machine, a central hub that controls their supply lines and weapons production." Novak leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the flickering holographic display. "What do you need me to do, Admiral?" "I'm tasking you with leading a strike force deep into Zorgan territory," Petrovich continued, her tone solemn. "Your mission is to infiltrate their hub and cripple their ability to wage war. It won't be easy, but if anyone can pull it off, it's you and your crew." A grim smile tugged at the corners of Novak's mouth. "Consider it done, Admiral. The Zorgans won't know what hit them." As the HD's Retribution broke away from the main battle, flanked by a hand-picked squadron of the human Dominion's most elite ships, Captain Novak felt a sense of purpose settle over him. This was more than just another mission. It was a chance to strike a decisive blow against the Zorgan Empire and ensure the safety of the human Dominion. The journey through Zorgan space was fraught with peril, the strike force navigating treacherous asteroid fields and evading roving patrols of enemy ships. But Novak and his crew were undaunted, their resolve hardened by the knowledge that the fate of their people rested on their shoulders. As they neared their target, a heavily fortified Zorgan industrial complex, Captain Novak gathered his officers in the Retribution's briefing room. The holographic display in the center of the table showed a detailed schematic of the complex, highlighting its various defenses and weak points in glowing red. "This is it," Novak said, his voice filled with quiet intensity. "We hit them hard and fast. Take out their primary reactor core and get out before they have a chance to retaliate. Every second counts, so let's make them count." The officers nodded, their expressions resolute. They knew the risks, but failure was not an option. The human Dominion was counting on them, and they would not let their people down. As the strike force entered the Zorgan complex's sensor range, alarms blared across the enemy facility. Zorgan defenders scrambled to their battle stations, their ships and weapon emplacements powering up to repel the human intruders. But the human Dominion ships were ready, their advanced cloaking technology allowing them to slip past the outer defenses undetected. It was only when they were within striking distance of the reactor core that they decloaked, their weapons already primed and ready to fire. The battle was fierce and bloody, with the Zorgan defenders fighting with the desperate fury of those who knew they were cornered. However, the human strike force was relentless, their superior technology and training proving decisive in the close-quarters combat. Captain Novak led from the front, his plasma rifle cutting down Zorgan warriors with ruthless efficiency. His crew fought alongside him, their bravery and skill a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human Dominion. As the reactor core finally fell, consumed in a blinding flash of light and heat, the Zorgan complex began to crumble around them. Captain Novak and his crew raced back to their ships, dodging falling debris and fighting off the last desperate attacks of the Zorgan defenders. They barely made it out before the complex exploded, the shockwave buffeting their ships and sending them tumbling through space. But they had done it. The heart of the Zorgan war machine had been destroyed, along with the Empire's ability to wage war against the human Dominion. As Captain Novak and his victorious strike force returned to the main battle, they were greeted by a sight that would be forever etched in their memories. The human Dominion fleet, buoyed by the success of Novak's mission, had turned the tide against the Zorgan armada. The once mighty Zorgan ships were now in full retreat, their hulls battered and their spirits broken. On the bridge of the ZS Devastator, Emperor Karox could only watch in impotent fury as his dreams of conquest crumbled before his eyes. The human dominion had proven once again that they were a force to be reckoned with, their strength and resilience unmatched in the galaxy. As the Zorgan fleet limped back to their own space, the human dominion celebrated their victory, with cheering crowds filling the streets of their cities. But for Captain Novak and his crew, there was little time to rest on their laurels. They knew that the Zorgan, though beaten, would not stay down forever. There would be other battles, other challenges to face in the defense of their people and their way of life. But for now, as the HD's Retribution sailed through the stars, its crew battered but unbroken, Captain Novak allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had faced the worst the Zorgan Empire had to offer and emerged victorious. And as long as the human dominion had heroes like them to defend it, he knew that no force in the galaxy could ever truly defeat them. His gaze fixed on the holographic display revealing their target, the heart of the Zorgan Empire. "All ships, prepare for stealth approach," Novak commanded, his voice steady and calm. "We hit them hard and fast. Take out their shipyards and weapons factories, and get out before they know what hit them." The crew of the Retribution responded with crisp efficiency, their hands flying over consoles and readouts as they made final preparations for the attack. In the hangar bays, elite teams of Marines checked their weapons and armor, their faces etched with grim determination. As they neared the Zorgan homeworld, the strike force activated their advanced cloaking devices, their ships shimmering and disappearing from view. They slipped past the outer defenses like ghosts, their presence undetected by the enemy's senses. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, they struck. The human dominion ships decloaked in the heart of the Zorgan shipyards, their weapons already firing. Plasma beams and antimatter missiles tore through the unfinished hulls of Zorgan warships, setting off chain reactions that ripped through the entire complex. On the surface of the planet, the weapons factories erupted in flames as the human dominion bombardment rained down from above. Zorgan workers and soldiers scrambled for cover, but there was nowhere to hide from the relentless onslaught. In the chaos, Captain Novak and his Marines launched their ground assault, storming the factories and engaging the Zorgan defenders in close-quarters combat. The Zorgan fought with the ferocity of cornered beasts, but they were no match for the skill and technology of the human dominion warriors. As the factories and shipyards burned, the Zorgan military crumbled like a house of cards. Their ships, half-built and unable to fight, were easy prey for the human dominion fleet. Their soldiers, demoralized and leaderless, threw down their weapons and surrendered en masse. In the midst of the chaos, a single ship broke away from the Zorgan homeworld, its engines straining as it tried to escape the carnage. It was the personal flagship of Emperor Krax, and on board were the last remnants of the Zorgan leadership, desperate to escape to a secret base in uncharted space. But Captain Novak was not about to let them slip away. The HD's Retribution, its hull scarred but its spirit unbroken, gave chase, its engines roaring as it closed the distance to its prey. "Emperor Karox, this is Captain Novak of the Human Dominion." Novak broadcast on all frequencies, his voice hard and unyielding. "Surrender now or be destroyed." The response was a barrage of weapons fire as the Zorgan flagship tried desperately to fight off its pursuer. But the Retribution was faster and more maneuverable, its advanced shields absorbing the worst of the damage. Novak gritted his teeth as the ship shuddered under the impact, but he never took his eyes off his target. With a flick of his wrist, he sent the Retribution into a steep dive, ducking beneath the Zorgan fire and coming up behind the flagship. "Fire all weapons," Novak ordered, his voice calm and controlled. The Retribution unleashed a devastating broadside, its plasma beams and antimatter missiles tearing through the Zorgan shields like tissue paper. The flagship shuddered and lurched, its engines flickering and dying as critical systems overloaded and exploded. On the bridge of the flagship, Emperor Krax could only watch in horror as his ship fell apart around him. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and the stench of burning circuitry filled the air. The once proud ruler of the Zorgan Empire was reduced to a whimpering wreck, his dreams of conquest shattered beyond repair. With a final thunderous explosion, the Zorgan flagship broke apart, its fragments spinning off into the void of space. And with it, the last remnants of the Zorgan threat were extinguished, like a candle flame snuffed out by the wind.